This Memorial Day has special meaning for Hmong and Lao soldiers who fought in the 60s and 70s against the North Vietnamese in a secret war funded by the CIA. Earlier this year, Congress passed a law that will, for the first time, allow Hmong and Lao secret war soldiers to be buried in national cemeteries alongside other American warriors. We have two guests to talk about the significance of this new law. Tong Vang heads the SGU Veterans Group. It's composed of soldiers who fought in the secret war. Here, too, is Pao Xiong. He heads the Center for Hmong Studies at Concordia University in St. Paul. Welcome. Well, Professor, how long did this take, and what ended up being the winning argument?
You know, this legislation has been going on since 2010, when General Von Pao, along with other veterans group, actually went and met with Congressman Costa from California to introduce the legislation, and it didn't pick up. And so it's kind of interesting that after all this time, the legislation actually passed, but it was stuck in the appropriation bill. And so that's, it's a good thing because, you know, all of our veterans are all dying off, and we have probably fewer than 5,000 left.
Was it a matter also to get this bill passed, a lot of education for folks who don't understand the significance of the secret war?
Absolutely. If you look at historical books, there's nothing mentioned about the Hmong people. And when you look at people in Congress right now, most of it are young people that grew up not knowing about the Vietnam War. And so it's much more difficult to get people like that to understand, to have sympathy for the Hmong people.
Mr. Vang, how big of a deal is this?
It's a very big deal. And after the bill passed, all the veterans very, very happy and couldn't wait for it because they have been waiting for 40 years.
This is for veterans going forward, right? This isn't someone who's at Oakland Cemetery couldn't have their remains moved to, say, Fort Snelling. This is for going forward.
Yes.
Would that be something you'd take advantage of? Or?
Yes, this is something that we really take advantage, and also I feel that we deserve that too.
I think that the most important thing is being acknowledged that you actually contributed to a cause, right? The American cause in Southeast Asia, and communist containment. And so just to say, hey, it's okay, now we allow you to be buried. But I think there's still a lot of details that need to be worked out between the Department of Veterans Affairs to clarify, you know, some of the provisions within the legislation.
Some of the records got burned up, right? I mean, by the CIA, or
yeah, we were just talking about that. That, you know, many of the after the Vientiane Agreement of 1973 was signed, many of the records were burnt, and this is conversation with
Deliberately.
Deliberately, because they didn't want anything left behind, any traces, right? So if you think about it, the secret war of Laos was only disclosed in the 80s, right? It became unclassified in the 80s. And so many of the records are no longer around. I mean, at the Center for Hmong Studies, we have some records, but it's not complete. And many of those probably are not alive anymore. So
We mentioned, Eric mentioned Oakland Cemetery, and when you go to Oakland Cemetery, there are beautiful shrines. Those secret war veterans who are buried there have, it's really quite beautiful with photos and all of that. How many Hmong veterans do you think will take advantage of this chance to be buried in the National Cemetery?
I cannot predict that how many, but the bill is very flexible. Either you can choose to go to the military cemetery, or you can go to a private cemetery. So giving choice for the family to decide, you know.
And do you, with this, this is very symbolic, obviously, but you don't get any veterans benefits other than this, is that right?
No.
Is that the next step?
Yeah, that next step, we don't know how long, but I hope we will following on this bill, and maybe will be next, but I don't know when, you know.
Were the soldiers paid in cash, or how did that all work?
yeah, many of them were paid in cash, but there are records that were kept as to this battalion, this is the people that are in this battalion, right? And they're under this person's command. And so one of the challenges is that many of the commanders have since passed. And so we need to really trace back and work, again, the Veteran Administration, the DOD needs to work closely with the veterans organizations to really account for that. I mean, I had a conversation with my dad the other night, and I said,
well, your dad wasn't your dad a veteran?
Yeah, my dad's a veteran, so I was telling my dad that we better hurry up because the colonel that you served under, he's still alive. And to get him to sign off to say that you did serve under him, otherwise you won't have any evidence left after he passed away, so we were just talking about that.
Because your fighters...
I'm a veteran myself, and in that time we get paid by cash, but we had the list. Individual name and ring on the list. Each month they pay the salary. You go take your salary. You have to have your ID number, everything to get the pay. So I believe that the CIA or somebody still had our list. The list that we had, we did destroy, but the list that the CIA had must remain somewhere in this country or somewhere else.
Well, that should be the basis for benefits then, I would think.
Absolutely.
That's the next step.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully we can move in that direction. But
well, thanks very much for your service, and thanks for coming.
Thank
really
you very
appreciate
much
it. Thank you.
Thank
Yes.
you.